Very good evening, children. And the previous class, we have seen that any charged particle, whenever it is moving, that is, for example, electron moving in the wire or current moving in the wire, current carrying conductor produces magnetic field around it. We have seen. And also, we have discussed about Oersted experiment. He was able to find out the deflection in the galvanometer, I mean the deflection in the magnetic compass needle, which is kept above or below the current carrying wire. So from that, it is evidently seen that there is a magnetic field around the wire. So that is what we have already learnt, and based on that Biot-Savart law, we have seen, like, based on Biot-Savart law, we are able to find out the magnetic field at a point. Now, coming to this today's class topic, this is magnetic Lorentz force. According to Lorentz, any charged particle in electrostatics, what are we saying? A charged particle, stationary charged particle produces a field effect, that is electric field effect. Now this is about moving charge. Any charged particle, for example, plus q charge, is going to move with the velocity v in the presence of uniform magnetic field, which is acting at an angle theta with respect to velocity. So magnetic field is acting along x-axis, but the charged particle is inclined or at an angle theta with respect to uniform magnetic field. What happened according to Lorentz? This is going to experience a force. So according to Lorentz force, the charged particle will get deviated, deflected. Why is it deflected? Already we know that there is a magnetic field around the moving charge, right? That magnetic field will respond to the external magnetic field. That is all, children. Already, if you pass current through the wire, so there is a magnetic field produced around it. So this magnetic field will get disturbed or respond to the external magnetic field. That's the reason it is experiencing a force. That was found out by Lorentz. So therefore, this force is called as magnetic Lorentz force. We'll see that. According to magnetic Lorentz force, according to Lorentz, the force experienced by the charged particle, the force experienced by the charged particle, when placed in external uniform magnetic field, that means when it is moving in external uniform magnetic field, when moving with velocity v, in external uniform magnetic field, is directly proportional to magnitude of the magnetic field and magnitude of the charge, and directly proportional to v sine theta component. That force is directly proportional to v. Taking out the proportional of a constant, f is equal to bqv sine theta, or k is equal to constant, k is equal to 1. So f is equal to bqv sine theta. Earlier we also learnt that torque tau is equal to pe sine theta in the same way. In vector form, you can write f is equal to q into v cross b. Because, children, we know that v cross b is vb sine theta, the same thing I have written. So f is equal to q into v cross b. There are three elements. How can you find out the direction of force? The direction of the force can be found out by using right-handed thumb rule. So let me write direction of force. Direction of force can be found out by using right-hand thumb rule or cross product rule. Right-handed thumb rule, or you can use cross product rule. So this Lorentz force is meant only for the charged particle moving in the presence of magnetic field. So that magnetic Lorentz force is F is equal to bqv sine theta. In vector form, F is equal to q into v cross b. So v is, if is going to be perpendicular to B, then maximum force. So let us see that same thing here, the magnetic Lorentz force. We'll see the same thing. Yeah. You can see here, B is acting at an angle theta, it's perpendicular to magnetic field, so the force is acting outwards. You can see here, but how do you determine the direction of the force? To determine the direction of the force, you can use cross product rule. Cross product rule. You can use cross product rule. So how can you use cross product rule? So last year class 11 have we learned, children? The same thing we are going to use. It's very simple. One time if you're going to listen very carefully, definitely you will be the masterpiece of that particular concept. You see here, children, velocity of the positively charged particle. This is plus q charged particle. So this velocity of the positively charged particle, which direction it is acting? X-axis. How do you know it is x-axis? See here, it is x-axis. This is y-axis. This is z-axis. What is the unit vector along x-axis, children? You know very well. Come on, tell me. This is I cap. This is j cap. This is k cap. Now recap and tell me, last year 11th standard we learned what is I cross j. I cross j is k cap. What is j cross k? Anticlockwise. J cross k is equal to I cap. And what about the third one, k cross I? That is also anticlockwise. That will be equal to j cap. That is all, children. So based on that, let us see here. Okay. So let us see the same thing. Okay. Now you can see here velocity is positive direction of the x-axis. So can I write velocity is equal to plus I cap, children? Yes. Where is the magnetic field acting? J cap. So therefore B is equal to J cap. Force, where is it acting? We'll have to check. We will check force. So F is equal to Q into V cross B. We will check that. So when I check that, F is equal to Q is positive. I have already told you. Same thing positive will take. Velocity is I cap, I cross J. Tell me, children, what is I cross J? Here I have written. Now what is I cross J? What is that? K cap. So that is all. So you can write F vector is equal to, that is F direction is equal to K cap. That is all. Because I cross J is K. So where is it? A K cap means perpendicular outwards. So outwards. Perpendicular outwards. Okay, children. So this is understandable for you. So what is this rule called as? This is nothing but, this is nothing but cross product rule. Same way, you can also use the right palm rule to find out. This is all about magnetic Lorentz force. I have used cross product rule, and keep it in mind that here anti-clockwise if you go, that is positive. Keep it in mind, anti-clockwise only positive. How do you know whether it is clockwise or anti-clockwise? When you take a clock in your house, how does it go? 12 to 3. So when it goes 12 to 3, that is called as clockwise. If you say clockwise, you take it as negative. And if you go anti-clockwise, take it as positive. So if you go 3 to 6, that is clockwise. So if you go clockwise, take it as negative over here. But then here you can see, I am going anti-clockwise. Therefore, I took it as positive. Always anti-clockwise, positive. Clockwise, negative. So same way you can do it. J cross I. See here, J cross I. J cross I is clockwise. Since it is clockwise, what you can do? You can take it as negative. So therefore, if I take it like that, if I take it as J cross I, then since it is clockwise, I have to take minus K, children. Now again K cross J, if I write, then I have to take it as minus I cap. I cross K, when I write it as minus J cap. That is all, children. This is about cross product rule. Now, apart from the cross product rule, there is another rule which is easy, that is called as right palm rule. Right palm rule. Can use right palm rule, right hand side palm rule here. How do you use right palm rule? Your right palm. I'm not taking the left hand side. I have to take a right palm. So when I take a right palm here, my palm represent magnetic field. See here, this is palm. The palm represent magnetic field. If I keep it like that, this is your book. So I take the book that if I place your right palm in sense that outwards like that, so you will be writing the book like this, right? So when this palm is facing outward, upward, that is called as magnetic field acting upwards. That is z-axis, positive z-axis. But if I keep my right palm like this, that is inwards. Got it, children? So in the same way here, I have taken this right palm. So this is magnetic field outwards. Whereas the tip of the fingers represent velocity of the positively charged particle. Therefore, the thumb represent force. That is all, children. So likewise, let me give you right palm rule. So I am going to give it by keeping my palm into the plane of the paper. That is nothing but into the paper. You are writing no, so they like this, into the paper. So let me give you into the paper. This is into the paper. This is my right palm. So I have taken it like that, right palm. So now my tip of the fingers give you velocity of the positively charged particle. So I am giving you velocity of the positively charged particle. Whereas thumb gives the direction of the force. Whereas my palm gives the direction of magnetic field. My palm is giving the direction of magnetic field. So this is into the plane of the paper. So this is magnetic field into the plane of the paper. Whereas my tip of the finger, what is that? Now only I told you, no, what is that? That is velocity of positively charged particle. My thumb shows the direction of the force. F. This is velocity. That is all, children. So now we are going to do lot of conceptual questions based on that. Before that, I know right palm rule, I know cross product rule. So now we will do magnetic Lorentz force whenever it is placed parallel to the magnetic field. What is that? We'll check on that. When it is placed parallel to the magnetic field, how do you do it? Perpendicular to the magnetic field, how do you do it? All that we will see. Yes. Charged particle moving parallel to magnetic field, parallel or anti-parallel to magnetic field, anti-parallel to magnetic field. I mean this uniform magnetic field, charged particle moving parallel or anti-parallel to uniform magnetic field. So let me draw uniform magnetic field. So I am drawing uniform magnetic field. So this is uniform magnetic field, which is acting along x-axis, children. So let me write it as B. Simple. You can just use your brain and then you can do it. It's very simple. Now look at the velocity of the charged particle. Velocity of the charged particle is moving along the direction, but here it is opposite to the direction. Here velocity is along, here it is opposite. So look at the first diagram, children. Here velocity and B both are case 1. Case 1 parallel to B. So when it is parallel to B, theta is equal to 0 degree, children. But whereas case 2 is there, no. That is anti-parallel to P. Anti-parallel to B. Here since it is anti-parallel, now you see it is theta is equal to 180 degree here. So when theta is equal to 0 degrees, so therefore F is equal to, what is the formula of magnetic Lorentz force? Just now we saw BQV sin theta. So let me write the same thing, BQV sin theta. What is theta here, children? 0. So therefore sin 0 is 0, right? Therefore F is equal to 0, no force. You can write no force. Okay, the force is no, but then does it move or what? Yes, it will move. So therefore it follows linear path. It follows linear path only. But at the same time, if it is anti-parallel to B, the same thing here, I have to write BQB sine 180 degree, children. What is sine 180, children? Again, it is 0. So you all very well know about it. So F is equal to 0. So here also no force. But then even though no force, can you say that it doesn't move? No. It can move, but follows what path? Follows linear path. Linear path. Okay, children? So you hope you understand. Now I'm going to go for the perpendicular path. So charged particle moving perpendicular to magnetic field. So let us say charged particle is moving perpendicular to magnetic field. Okay, right. So let me take the next case. Case 3 I'm going to take. Charged particle moving perpendicular to magnetic field. Perpendicular to what magnetic field? Uniform magnetic field. Charged particle moving perpendicular to uniform magnetic field. So now we have to find out what is the nature of the path. So now let us take magnetic field is acting inwards. Let us take magnetic field is acting perpendicular inwards. Let us take it like that. You can also take perpendicular outwards. But ultimately, the velocity of the charged particle we are discussing the condition on which the velocity of the charged particle should be perpendicular to magnetic field. That's all. So now I'm going to take magnetic field perpendicular into the plane of the paper. Children, this concept, just in 10 minutes, you will be able to catch up. Once you catch up this topic, that is concept, how to find out the direction, really very good, and you will be an ultimate of this concept. Okay? So, with a height of confidence, any question you will be able to solve. Any question you will be able to crack. Lot of questions will be based on conceptual. Okay? Thinking, critical thinking. Now, this is magnetic field. I am going to take a magnetic velocity of the positively charged particle. This velocity of the positively charged particle is acting perpendicular downwards. Let us suppose positively charged particle is acting perpendicular downwards. Use the right palm rule and find out the direction of the force. You may be wondering why only to use right palm rule. Doesn't mean that you can also use cross product rule, but use only any one rule throughout. Right? In class 10, your teacher would have taught you Fleming's left hand rule. That also you can use. But then I am not going to that part because in this lesson, I am going to teach you only by taking the right hand into consideration. Because for one concept, if you take left hand, another concept, if you take right hand. So ultimately, sometimes that is a possibility for you to get confused. To avoid that, I am completely taking right hand only. Either right hand thumb rule or I am going to use right hand palm rule. That is all. If you take 3 elements, take palm rule. I have told you thumb is my magnetic field and my fingers are the velocity of positively charged particle. What is it? I'm sorry, my palm is my magnetic field. Palm is my magnetic field. Fingers are the velocity of positively charged particle. Whereas my thumb shows the direction of the force. If I keep my palm like that into the paper, that is perpendicular inwards, negative z-axis. What is that? Negative z-axis. That means minus k cap. If I keep the palm facing outwards, then you can say that it is positive z-axis. That is all. So now, look at that. Let me just draw the palm. So my fingers, this is my right palm, only right hand palm. So I'm going to use my fingers represent the velocity of the charged particle. So therefore I'm drawing the velocity of the charged particle. See, look at the velocity of the charged particle. Very simple, children. You can understand this. See, I have drawn like that. So when I draw this fingers represent the velocity of the charged particle, which is acting downwards. My palm represents magnetic field is acting inwards. So therefore, which direction is the force? This direction is the force. Do you understand, children? So that is the force. So therefore, ultimately here, the charged particle does not go downward. That will be pulled towards the right. Who is pulling? Who is pulling? It's pulling by magnetic field is pulling over there. You get it? So pulled by the magnetic field. So hope you understand this, children. So therefore I have to write here F is equal to BQV sine theta. BQV sine theta. F is equal to BQV sine theta over here. So can we just go to the next? Here I will show you. Charged particle moving perpendicular to uniform magnetic field. Look at that. Always it experiences a force. This is experiencing a force perpendicular to that velocity like that. So therefore, I can even say that this charged particle is experiencing a force. This charged particle, due to magnetic field, it is experiencing a force in this direction. Right? Now what happened? Neither of the two direction it moves because the charged particle has been pulled towards the right. So this is with the velocity. So neither of the two direction it moves. Rather what happens? It moves along its diagonal according to parallelogram law vectors. So therefore, this charged particle try to move like that. While it is moving at this point, I wanted to find out the direction of the velocity vectors. How can you find out? Draw a tangent at the point. When I draw a tangent at the point, this is the velocity according to right palm rule. So this is velocity is acting towards the right hand side. Magnetic field is inward. The force will be upwards. Can you see the children? So therefore the force is upwards. Again what happened? Neither of the two direction it moves. Rather it just move along its diagonal. I wanted to find out the direction of the velocity of positively charged particle drawing a tangent. So therefore the magnetic field is acting downwards. Velocity is towards towards the positive y-axis. Therefore the force is towards left. Neither of the two direction it moves. Therefore it forms here in this case the velocity is in this direction. Therefore the force will be acting downwards. So hence what happens? It follows a circular path, which is following a circular path, positively charged particle. Whenever it is moving in a magnetic field, it follows circular path. We know that it brings into your mind, last year 11th standard you have learnt, centripetal force is balanced by magnetic Lorentz force. Or centripetal force is provided by magnetic Lorentz force. Is provided by magnetic Lorentz force. Magnetic Lorentz force. Since centripetal force is provided by magnetic Lorentz force, so therefore I can say that BQV sine theta is equal to mv square divided by r. So BQV sine 90 degree is equal to, this is mv square by r. Sine 90 is 1. So therefore I can write VQV is equal to mv square by r. Now V get cancel, r is equal to mv by BQ. So radius you found out. Okay children, so just copy down the same thing. 1 minute. I will be back. Okay, I'm very sorry for the interruption in between, children. So now you understand that this velocity of the charged particle, this is velocity of the charged particle is perpendicular to the force. How do we obtain the force? By using magnetic Lorentz force, we obtain the force. How do we know that it is only acting towards, this case acting towards right? How do we know that it is acting towards up? Only by using right palm rule. Either you can use palm rule or you can use cross product rule. Palm rule, I have told you, magnetic field is inwards. So I am placing it like that, inwards. So now velocity of the charged particle is towards right. So therefore the force is going to be upwards. So same way here, in this point, at this point B, at this point B. So this is O, this is A, this is B, C. At this point B, again magnetic field is inwards. Velocity of the charged particle is acting upwards, y-axis. Therefore the force is towards left. So same way what happens, everywhere the force will be acting towards the center of the circle. Since it is acting towards the center of the circle, you can say that centripetal force is acting over here. The centripetal force is provided by the magnetic Lorentz force. Hence, I have given you BQV sine theta is equal to mv square by r. But then here, what is angle here? Angle between velocity of charged particle and magnetic field is 90 degree. So therefore, BQV sine theta is equal to mv square by r. BQV is equal to mv square by r. R is equal to mv by BQ. Hope you understand, children. From this, what can you find? That R is directly proportional to V. Equation number 1. It's very well, it is with clarity you understand that R is directly proportional to V. So that means if velocity of the charged particle increases, its radius also increases. You can also write it in terms of momentum because you have a lot of conceptual question based on that. We will see that. Otherwise, to be noted, or can write it as R is equal to mv by bq, which can be written as momentum P by BQ because P is equal to mv. So let me write since P is equal to mv. And I can also write it as kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. Last year 11th standard have we learned, children? Yes, you must have learned. Now what you do is very easy, children. Left hand side and right hand side multiply with mass. So mk is equal to half into m square v square. Because I wanted to bring in terms of what? Momentum. That's all, children. Very easy. So now 2mk is equal to m square v square, or p is equal to root of 2mk. So therefore I can write it as root of 2m into kinetic energy divided by bq. But I also know that, so this is one part. I also know that work done per unit charge is equal to potential, or work done is equal to q into v. Work done is nothing but kinetic energy. So therefore I can write kinetic energy is equal to q into v. So therefore I can also write 2m into, instead of kinetic energy, what should I write? Q into v. V is not velocity, children. It is an accelerating potential. So therefore I can box this up. So because this is very, 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 very important equation for doing all conceptual question. Okay, children, just copy down quickly. Okay. So now R is equal to mv by bq, p by bq, and root of 2m kinetic energy by bq, root of 2m qv by bq. What is v? V is nothing but accelerating potential. V is nothing but potential or accelerating potential. One question based on that I'm going to teach you, children. Before that, comparison of charges. Comparison of charged particle. Charged particle. Comparison of charged particles. So let me compare the charged particles. So let me draw a table. So let me quickly take a shape and then I'm going to draw a table for the same thing. Yeah, so I'm going to draw a table. Sorry for the interruption, children. So let me draw a table. Okay, just a comparison of charges. So let me compare the charges of charge, mass, and of all the particles. Okay, electron with electron also I'm going to compare. So now charge, this is particles, and this is charge, symbol, particle symbol, and charge, mass. So let me compare the same thing. Particle, what are the particles you're going to compare, children? In your examination, only electron, proton, deuteron, alpha particle. Only 4. Keep it in mind and learn only what the comparison of the charge and the masses. First, I'm going to take proton. Proton is a positively charged particle, children. Symbol is H11. What do you mean by this? This is nothing but charge. And the superscript is there, no? That is mass. So let me take this as QP, charge, and mass is MP. Deuteron. Deuteron is nothing but proton with protium, deuterium. Deuterium is nothing but, it is an isotope of proton. So mass number at this mass is going to be double that of the proton. So therefore, QP 2MP. Similarly, alpha particle is nothing but helium. Alpha particle is nothing but helium. Charge is 2QP, whereas mass is 4MP. And how do you compare the electron? Charge of electron is equal to charge of proton. Both the charges are same, children. Only thing, mass is different. Mass of proton is equal to, is greater, 1940 times the mass of 1940 times the mass of electron. That is all the comparison, children. Why I wanted you to learn this comparison. Now I'm going to give you certain question based on that. You can see the radius. Based on this radius, I'm going to clip off the same thing. Based on the radius, you will be able to solve more question. Okay. So I have just taken this, put it here, and let me give you one question. Okay, find the ratio of, quickly, one question. It is a mind-blowing question. Do you know? So do you know what's question actually? This is, find the ratio of radius of trajectories of proton and alpha particle. Proton entering into an uniform magnetic field, uniform perpendicular magnetic field with the same velocity, same velocity. The same velocity v, it is entering. B part of the question, another case with the same momentum it is entering. B part of the question. And C part of the question with the same kinetic energy. And D part of the question with the same accelerating potential. How many questions? Array concept is how many questions? Check that. Accelerating potential. So let us see all that, children. First one I am going to give you, remaining all you are going to do by yourself. So first case I am going to take same velocity. If it is same velocity, what is the formula you have to use to be noted? For same velocity, use the formula radius r is equal to mv by bq, children. That is all, children. If it is same momentum, use the second formula. If it is same kinetic energy, use the third formula. Same accelerating potential, use the fourth formula. That's it. Now same velocity, so therefore I have used this formula. Now here, R is equal to, so we know that R proton by R alpha particles. So do you get it? So you're asked to find out the ratio of radius of trajectory of proton and alpha particle. Proton first, then alpha particle. So R proton is equal to mv by bq, m proton into v divided by b into qp. Children, in this, velocity is same, it is already given. Magnetic field, uniform magnetic field, that's also same. So therefore, I can write it as R is directly proportional to mass by Q. So therefore, R proton by R alpha particle is equal to mass of the proton divided by Q into Q of proton into Q of alpha divided by mass of alpha. That is all, children. Now you compared table is there, no? You've already drawn one table, right? The table, comparison table. Now you check, that's it. Very easy. Look at that. It's very easy, children. Just give your attention for 15 minutes of time. The whole concept you will be able to learn. Concentrate well, that is all. You can crack it. Now listen. Here, proton. What is the charge here? Qp. What is the mass here? Mp. Got it. Alpha particle only you are going to compare. Alpha particle, what is the charge? 2qp. What is the mass? 4mp. That's all you are going to substitute. So that will be equal to mp by qp into q alpha is nothing but 2qp divided by 4mp. mp get cancelled, qp get cancelled. So 2 by 4, that is equal to 1 by 2. So therefore R proton by R alpha is equal to 1:2, children. That is all the answer. Is that not easy? It's very easy. Now go to the second question. Same momentum. What is the formula? P by BQ. If it is P by BQ, how do you write B part of the question? Same momentum. If it is same momentum, you can write R proton by R alpha is equal to. That is same momentum, no? What is the formula you can use first to write down the formula? R is equal to P by BQ. Same momentum, P is same, B is same, so I can write it as R is inversely proportional to Q. So therefore, R proton by R alpha is equal to Q alpha divided by Q proton. Why am I writing like this, children? Because inversely proportional, that's it. So that is equal to Q alpha is nothing but 2Q proton by Q proton. Get cancelled, therefore 2:1, children. That is all. Same momentum. Same way you do for the kinetic energy stuff as well as accelerating potential. So hope you understand, children. So can we go to the next? Yes. So now C and D. C part, same kinetic energy. If it has same kinetic energy, R is equal to root of 2m kinetic energy divided by BQ. So now in this case, kinetic energy is same, B is same. So R is directly proportional to root of m divided by Q. That's all, children. Therefore, R proton divided by R alpha is equal to root of m proton divided by Q proton into Q alpha divided by root of m alpha. Now substitute. This table is there, no? Mass is 4mp, charge is 2qp. Just substitute, that's it. When you substitute, R proton by R alpha is equal to root mp by qp into 2qp divided by 4mp. So what happened, children? 2qp get cancelled here. Root 4, when you take it out 2, so that also is getting cancelled. mp also getting cancelled. What is the answer, children? That is 1:1, children. That is all. Same kinetic energy, we got it. Now D. So D is same what? Same accelerating potential. Same V. Now come on, tell me what formula you have to use for same accelerating potential. You know it. Now only we have seen. So can we check that table? Same accelerating potential. What is the formula you use? Yeah, root of 2mqv by bq. Same thing, use it here. So R is equal to root of 2mqv divided by bq. So R is directly proportional to what? Root V, children. No, I'm sorry. So it is root mq divided by q. Can I write it as that? R directly proportional to root of m by q. Can you directly write it like that? Check, tell me. Yes, root, this q can be written as root q into root q. One q is getting cancelled. So therefore, r proton by r alpha is equal to what? R proton by r alpha is equal to root of mp divided by qp divided by root of m alpha divided by q alpha. Quickly do it, children. Root mp divided by qp into square root of 2qp divided by 4mp. Now what happened to mp? mp get cancelled, 2qp get cancelled. 2 by, so 1 by root 2, children. That is the answer. Or you can write it as 1 is to root 2. That is all. See, in 2 minutes time, the entire question we are able to do it because you are conceptually strong. That is how we need to study. Don't get tired. If you feel that you are getting bored, just switch off immediately and then refresh yourself and come back and then learn that. That is all. So only 1 year you are going to, pay much attention and then finish the concept and crack your examination with height of confidence and greatest marks. God is highest marks, I mean. So now next, Lorentz force. Lorentz force, magnetic Lorentz force at an angle theta. So now we have seen parallel, anti-parallel, then we have seen perpendicular. So now we are going to see at an angle theta. Charged particle moving at an angle theta. Charged particle moving at an angle theta. At an angle theta with respect to uniform magnetic field. Uniform magnetic field. This is only 3 minutes time, children. Only within 3 minutes you will be able to learn this concept. Now quickly let us see. This is charged particle moving at a velocity v, but it is moving at a velocity v in uniform magnetic field, but is not at perpendicular but at an angle theta. Children, we know very well that any charged particle, whenever it is moving parallel to magnetic field, if it is moving parallel to magnetic field, does it exert any force? No, right? We have seen no here. Any charged particle moving parallel to magnetic field, does it exert force? No, right? Zero force, linear path. Zero force, linear path. But at the same time, if the charged particle moving perpendicular to magnetic field, what force it experiences? It experiences centripetal force. No, we have seen, right? So, what is the nature of the path? For this, nature of the path is going to be circular. How do we know? That is what we have seen, nature of the path. So here, nature of the path is circular. Okay, right? Nature of the path is circular. If it is moving in a circular path, do you need to find out the time period? Yes, you can find out the time period. So you find out the time period of this. How do we find out the time period? Time period is equal to distance by velocity. Distance by velocity. So therefore, what is the distance here? Distance. Distance is nothing but circular path, children. So therefore, you write 2 pi r divided by v. So therefore, 2 pi by v into r. What is r here? mv by bq. The same thing, substitute here, mv by bq. v get cancelled. So therefore, you can write it as 2 pi m by bq. So from this, what can you understand? The time period is equal to 2 pi m by bq, or the frequency is equal to, or I can write frequency is equal to bq by 2 pi m. Neither of the two, that is either the time period or the frequency of the charged particle is independent of velocity. Sometimes you will be asked to check or you are able to prove that. You will be asked to prove that the time period of charged particle is independent of velocity. Like this, independent of velocity of charged particle. Velocity or radius of charged particle. So it is independent. And also, children, please listen, one more thing I wanted to convey the same thing. Here in class 11 also you have learned. Look at the force and the velocity. Look at the force and the velocity. Look at the force and the velocity. Everywhere the force and the velocity is perpendicular. Since it is perpendicular, therefore, work done by this charged particle in uniform perpendicular magnetic field is zero. Work done is equal to zero. Keep it in mind. Any charged particle moving perpendicular to magnetic field experiences a force which is perpendicular to the velocity. Since it is perpendicular to the velocity, you can say that no work is done. No work done. One more question it will be asked. Does speed changes? No. But does velocity changes? Yes. Therefore, its momentum changes. Keep that in mind. So, insights. See, I'm giving a lot of insights here. Momentum changes. But even though momentum changes, kinetic energy remains constant. Why? Because work done is equal to zero. Insights. That's it. Now coming back here, keep that in mind. Velocity convert, that means velocity components, resolution of vectors. Resolve this component into two. This is v cos theta component, this is v sin theta component. V cos theta component gives you only linear path because it does not experience any force. Linear path. Whereas V sin theta component exerts what path? Circular path. It exerts circular path. Therefore, ultimately, linear plus circular gives helical path. Linear plus circular gives what path? Helical path. Hope you understand, children, here. Since it is helical path, how does this moves? How is it moving? Like this it will move. Why is it moving? Because linear path, horizontal component is there, right? The horizontal velocity is there. No, this is v cos theta component. It pulls the charged particle towards right, horizontally, linear motion. Whereas the perpendicular component is there, no, v sin theta. It makes it to move in a circular path. It tried to move in a circular path, at the same time this fellow is pulling, no, so therefore what will happen? It follows what path? Helical path, like that. Since it is following helical path, therefore I can very well say that helical path. So hope you understand what I mean, that helical path. So now here, this is this helical path. I am going to put it here. Yeah. So this is helical path. Now I am going to take it as linear plus circular is helical path. Here centripetal force for the perpendicular component, of velocity v sin theta component, I can write mv square by r is equal to, that is m into v sin theta the whole square divided by r. Same thing, children, bqv sin theta. So 1v sin theta, 1v sin theta is getting cancelled. So therefore r will be equal to mv sin theta divided by bq. So in this case, r is directly proportional to v sin theta. Earlier we have seen r directly proportional to v, that was perpendicular. But here r is directly proportional to v sin theta. Okay, fine. Time period, how will you find out? So we'll see the time period here. Time period t is equal to 2 pi r divided by v sin theta. Quickly come on, write, children. What is r? We have already seen that. The same thing I'm going to write. mv sin theta divided by bq. What happened to v sin theta? That is getting cancelled. Therefore, time period, again you can say that it is independent of velocity. Or you can say that frequency is equal to frequency is equal to bq by 2 pi m, because frequency is 1 by time period, which is equal to bq by 2 pi m, which is independent of velocity. Or you can also write omega is equal to 2 pi nu. Last year class 11 we learned, children, same thing. 2 pi nu, which is equal to 2 pi into BQ by 2 pi m. So that is equal to 2 pi get cancelled, or omega is equal to BQ by m. Again, you can say that independent of velocity. Whether it is moving at an angle theta or it is moving perpendicular to magnetic field, both the cases, the frequency is independent of velocity. Independent of velocity. So hope you understand, children. Now we have to find out the pitch of the helix. Pitch of helix. Pitch is nothing but horizontal distance covered during time period t seconds. Horizontal distance covered. So horizontal distance covered in time period t seconds. In t seconds. So that is equal to, pitch is equal to horizontal velocity into time period. What is horizontal velocity? V cos theta into t. What is t you found out? Just now we found out t. T is 2 pi m by bq. So therefore I can write V cos theta into 2 pi m divided by bq. That is all. Pitch we found out. That's all. So hope you understand, children. All the cases we have seen. Now we are going to go for the Lorentz force. What have we seen? Just have a quick recap. What is magnetic Lorentz force? Any charged particle moving in the presence of magnetic field experiences force. That force, according to Lorentz, it is VQV sin theta. How do you know that it is experiencing a force, children? Because any charged particle, whenever it is moving, it produces its magnetic field. Therefore, it is responding to the external magnetic field. So in vector form, you can write it as Q into V cross B. Now tell me, children, any charged particle moving parallel to magnetic field. How? Moving parallel to magnetic field. What is the nature of the force? If it is parallel, what is theta is equal to 0, right? Since it is 0, what is that force it experience? Zero force. At the same time, if it is anti-parallel, what is the nature of the force? Again, no force. Because sine 180 is 0, sine 0, 0. But at the same time, when the charged particle is moving perpendicular to magnetic field, how does it experience? Whenever the charged particle is moving perpendicular to magnetic field, it experiences a centripetal force. Therefore, it follows what path? Circular path. Since it is a circular path, the work done by the charged particle in a moving in a magnetic field is 0. And of course, we have seen the radius of charged particle is directly proportional to velocity of charged particle and 3 other formulas. Now we are going to see Lorentz force. This is only charged particle moving perpendicular to uniform magnetic field, and this is circular path. This we have already seen, circular path. Okay. So now, because the velocity is always perpendicular to the force everywhere. So now we are going to see Lorentz force. Write down Lorentz force. What is the difference between Lorentz force and magnetic Lorentz force? Magnetic Lorentz force is only magnetic field, whereas Lorentz force is both electric and magnetic field. Force experienced by the charged particle, force experienced by the charged particle, both in electric and magnetic field, both in electric and magnetic field. Since it is both in electric and magnetic field, now you check on that. F is equal to force due to electric plus force due to magnetic. That's all. Now you check here, what is force due to electric? QE. Where have we learnt? Electrostatics. Force due to magnetic field, Q into V cross B. Where have we learnt? Now only we learnt. So that is all. The electric force is straightforward, being in the direction of the electric field. For the charge is positive. But the direction of the magnetic part of the force is given by right hand rule. Or you can say it is given by cross product rule. Or it is, you can say, given by right palm rule. Do you understand, children? Lorentz force is very simple. It is due to electric field as well as magnetic field. You can see here, children, the electric force QE. Positive charge is placed in the presence of electric field. So therefore, what happened? It experiences a force downwards. But at the same time here, the magnetic field is acting north to south downwards. Charged particle is moving perpendicular. So therefore, the charged particle is moving perpendicular, no? So which direction is the charged particle? Towards the right. Where is the magnetic field? Down. My palm is the magnetic field downwards. Can you see here? My palm is the magnetic field acting vertically downwards. Velocity of the charged particle is towards my right. You also keep it like that, towards your right. So towards my right. So where is my thumb is pointing out? That is a force. Thumb is pointing perpendicular to both. It is inwards. So perpendicular inverse. That is what is given here. So magnetic force, magnitude QE perpendicular to both V and B, away from the viewer. Got it? So that is what it's given. So if you want F is equal to Q into V cross B, Q into V cross B you can give. B is Q is positive, V is I cap, and magnetic field is acting negative J cap. So therefore I cross J is K, so minus K cap. You can see that. So both electric as well as magnetic field, that is Lorentz force. Based on this Lorentz force, there is an application here, children, that is velocity selector. We will check on that velocity selector. Okay, so we will see that velocity selector. Both electric as well as magnetic field. So I will just bring on to this. Yeah, you can see here magnetic field is acting outwards. See here, children, magnetic field is acting outwards. Yeah, magnetic field is acting outwards. See? Okay, magnetic field is acting outwards. Okay, if the magnetic field is acting outwards here, electric field is acting upwards. You can see here, electric field is acting upwards. Force due to electric field, this positively charged particle is there, right? The positively charged particle. Where does it go? It acts towards. That means the positively charged particle deflect towards negative charge, like that. Okay, so let me draw it from the beginning. Yeah, I will draw it from the beginning. Velocity selector. Now this is positively charged particle. It is going to enter into uniform electric field. Enter into uniform electric field. So therefore what happens? Positively charged particle will try to move up. So it is going up. At the same time, I am placing a magnetic field. So I am going to place a magnetic field in such a way that the magnetic field is acting outwards. Say like this, outwards. So a magnetic field is acting outwards, like that. Since the magnetic field is acting outwards here, the charged particle, instead of going upwards, try to get pulled downwards. Try to get pulled downward. That is force due to magnetic. This is force due to electric. If force due to electric field vector is equal to force due to magnetic field vector, then what will happen? Neither of the two direction it moves according to parallelogram law vectors. Therefore, the charged particle moves straight like that. Charged particle, that is called as velocity selector. The charged particle moves straight. So when does it, what condition it is getting undeflected? Force due to electric field is equal to force due to magnetic field. Then charged particle remain undeflected. So that is nothing but no deviation, neither up nor down. Moves in a straight line path. Children, even though the force is acting, you would have learnt in class 11, in class 12, if there is any external force, what will happen? It gets deviated, it gets accelerated, all that we have seen. But then, Even though there are two forces which is acting, it is remain undeflected. When it can happen, what is the condition? That is what you are looking at. Remain undeflected, move in a straight line path. For that conditions, what condition can happen? Number one condition, electric field should be perpendicular to magnetic field. And number two condition, that's what we have already seen, force due to electric field should be definitely equal to force due to magnetic field. If it is equal, then you can say that QE will be equal to what? BQV sine theta, therefore sine 90 degree here. I can even write QE is equal to BQV. QQ get cancelled, therefore V can be written as E by B. V is velocity. So this is the condition for charged particle remain undeflected over here. Where can you use it? This principle is used in mass spectrometer. What is the purpose of using this mass spectrometer? To select charge by mass ratio, E by M ratio, charge by mass ratio. So hope you understand. Lorentz force over, magnetic Lorentz force over. So you have completed learning both the concept very quickly. Okay children, now force on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, same concept. See, that is charge, now it is current. Force on a current carrying conductor placed in uniform magnetic field. Same concept children, there it is charge, here it is conductor, lot of charges, n number of charges, magnetic field, placed in uniform magnetic field B. See, this is the conductor I have taken, this is the conductor. So same thing I am going to draw here. So this is the conductor. So now this conductor is going to be placed in external uniform magnetic field, which is acting in this direction at an angle theta. Current is flowing in this direction. Take a small elementary portion of the conductor children. That is dl vector. In that elementary portion, current is flowing in this direction, whereas electrons will be flowing opposite to the direction. So therefore, I can call it as drift velocity of the electron is equal to minus dl vector by dt, because electron always flow opposite to the direction of the current. Okay children, got it? How many electrons are present? We don't know. So now let us suppose smallest force for a charges that is present in dl vector. Okay, let df vector is equal to, that is force due to electrons, that is charges, in small elementary portion of wire, of conductor. What is elementary portion? DL vector. So that is, I can say that df vector is equal to q into v cross b. Very simple children, just 2 steps the derivation gets over. But we know that q is equal to plus or minus Ne. So I am taking plus or minus Ne, but here since I am talking about electrons, I have to write minus Ne. But Vd is equal to minus dl vector by dt, that also I am writing the same thing into B. Equation number 1. But I know that, let us suppose, small n is because how many electrons are there in a conductor. L is the length of the conductor. But we don't know what is how many electrons are present. Let us suppose small n is equal to total number of electrons per unit volume. So therefore, I can write it as small n is equal to capital N divided by volume. Or capital N is equal to small n into volume. What is volume? Volume is nothing but area into length children. Area into dl, that is all. I am going to substitute this 2 in 1. Substitute, that's all. The derivation is getting over. See, substitute. Df vector is equal to minus getting cancelled children. So now instead of capital N, I am going to write this. So minus and minus is getting cancelled. Na dl into E into dl vector divided by dt cross B vector. Now slowly I am going to combine this here children like this. Okay, concentrate well now. Don't get diverted, distracted. Listen. Very simpler way you can learn. That is all, children. Now df vector is equal to Na dl by dt. That is nothing but NaEVD. What is NaEVD, children? Come on, recap. Which lesson you have learned? Yes, current electricity you have learned. What is NaEVD? I. So therefore, df vector is equal to current I into dl cross B. That's all. When you integrate, therefore, F vector is equal to I into L cross B. What is A cross B, children? You have learned to know. A cross B is AB sin theta, therefore L cross B is LB sin theta. So I can write it as F is equal to BIL sin theta. Same way here also you can use Palm rule and find out, or cross product rule and find out the force. You don't need to use a Fleming's left hand rule. Or if you feel that you're comfortable, you can use it. But I don't want you to get confused. That is why I'm always using either right palm rule or cross product rule, or you can use right thumb rule. Hope you understand, children. F is equal to BIL sin theta. It's very simple, children. Just an example, let me just give you so that you will have a clarity of it. For example, this is the length of the conductor. That is L vector. What is L vector? Small elementary portion length. So L vector, this is B. Now you tell me, children, L cross B, no, it is clockwise and anti-clockwise. It is clockwise. Already I told take clockwise as negative. I'm taking as negative, which is the third axis. It is clockwise. The third axis means the force will be perpendicular to both L and B. Force is perpendicular to both. Perpendicular to both L and B. So therefore, the force is perpendicular downwards. How do you know? Because clockwise, no. Third axis perpendicular downwards. That is all, children. Just an example I have given you. So F is equal to be a one page, one derivation gets over. Just 4 lines getting over. That is all. See, for a charged particle, BQB sin theta. Whereas for a whole conductor, Bill sin theta. Now, instead of one single conductor, I am going to take a loop. That is also very simple. So, let us go to the loop. So, now, torque on, torque acting on. Torque on, rectangular current loop. Rectangular. You can have rectangular or circular loop, anything. Rectangular current loop. Current loop placed in uniform magnetic field. Uniform magnetic field. See here, children, this is only magnetic field. It's given like that. So here, torque on rectangular current loop placed in uniform magnetic field. So I'm going to take a magnetic field here. See, I'm redrawing the same thing for your understanding. Okay, so here, same way. Okay, so now this is north and south pole of a magnet. North pole, south pole of a magnet. It is like a 3-dimensional view, children. Very simple, you can learn. Now I'm going to place a rectangular current carrying coil. So let me place a rectangular current carrying coil like that. Three-dimensional flat, I'm going to place it like this. Like this I'm going to place between the pole piece of the magnet. Okay, understood, children? So like this, this is the rectangular coil. I'm placing it parallel to it. Magnetic field will come like that. So when a magnetic field is coming like that, now listen here. Look at this. This is magnetic field direction B. Now I am going to pass a current over here through. This is P, Q, R, S. I am passing. Look at the current which is passing Q to P. Q to P, the magnetic field is acting north to south. Use right thumb rule and then you can use it. Right palm rule, I mean. Magnetic field is acting towards right. This is my magnetic field, right? See, acting towards right, to my right. Look at the direction of the current. Look to my right. Don't change it. To my right. To my right, the magnetic field should not change. Look at the direction of the current Q to P. See here, Q to P. Q to P, y-axis, positive y-axis. Now where is my force? This is current. There we have taken velocity. No, here you take current. This is magnetic field. My palm is magnetic field north to south, towards right. My fingers are the current. It is going towards positive y-axis. Where is my thumb? Only right hand I am taking. Thumb is acting downwards. So therefore, the force is acting perpendicular downwards. Same way here, coming to the S to R. Current is coming from S to R, just opposite directions. Therefore, the force will be acting perpendicular upwards. Now, PS. PS, the current direction, look at the current direction, it is parallel to magnetic field. Since it is parallel, no force. So, force due to PS is equal to 0. Similarly, force due to QR is also equal to 0 because anti-parallel. Only the force due to PQ and the force due to SR, F1 and F3 is going to constitute a couple effect. How it is couple effect? Let me show you here. This is the coil and in the side the force is acting downwards and this side the force is acting upwards. So these two forces are equal and opposite. Therefore, what will happen? It exerts a turning effect like that. Can you check here? It is exerting a turning effect like that. Therefore, you can say that it is executing torque. Completely, the force is going to be, linear force is going to be 0. Here the force is 0, here the force is 0. There is no linear motion, net force is 0. But that rotational force is there because it is a couple effect. Because these two forces are not in the same line of action, separated by a perpendicular distance. Hope you understand, children. So therefore, I am taking here this case. So torque tau is equal to, this coil is separated by a distance of A. So torque tau is equal to 1 of the force into its perpendicular distance. So one of the force is nothing but F, any one force. You can take either F1 or F3. Bill. Sine 90 degree because length of the conductor in the magnetic field is 90. So into perpendicular distance is A. So A or you can say that is the breadth of the coil, B. So L is the length of the coil and B is the breadth of the coil. Just for our convenience, let me take, this is the breadth of the coil. So I can take this as Bi into L into B is nothing but area. So therefore, I can simply say that torque tau is equal to Bi into area. Or I can write it as in vector form I into B cross A. Got it, children? Okay, I'm sorry, I into A cross B. A cross B. So therefore, tau is equal to IAB for n turns of the coil. You can write it as nibba sine theta. Because A cross B is what? AB sine theta, right? AB sine theta. So therefore, without the number of turns, I can write it as IAB sine theta. With the number of turns, what I can write? Nibba sine theta. Nibba sine theta. Now, here, why I am not writing nibba sine theta? Because I place it like that. The plane of the coil is going to be the parallel to that of the magnetic field. But if you're going to place it at an angle theta over here, in this case, I have tilted. So in this case, I can simply write, for this case, I can write it as torque tau is equal to NIAB sine theta. You can see it's slightly tilted. Or I can write it as torque tau is equal to MB sine theta. Why am I writing MB sine theta? Where M is equal to NIA, called as magnetic moment of the current loop. Magnetic moment of current loop. So M vector is equal to Ni into A vector. The direction of magnetic moment is same as that of the area vector. So therefore, the torque can also be written as torque tau is equal to M cross B. Again, you can use the right hand palm rule or cross product rule in order to find out the torque. Same thing, children, always use this right form rule or a cross product rule to find out. So if you know you're very well versed in I cross J cross K or something, you can use that, or otherwise form rule. So torque tau is equal to M cross B. Torque, magnetic moment is NIA, SI unit of magnetic moment. Magnetic moment is ampere meter square. Torque is measured in joules. So you can say that. So let me just give you three important things and three tips. Number one, a charged particle moving in the presence of magnetic field, uniform magnetic field, experiences magnetic Lorentz force, F is equal to BQV sin theta. That is for the charge. For a current carrying conductor, F is equal to Bill sin theta. For a current loop, F torque is equal to, it is not F, it is torque. That too are force, but this is torque. Torque on a current loop is equal to MB sin theta. Number one, BQV sin theta for the charge. Number two, F is equal to Bill sin theta for the current carrying conductor. Number three, torque on the current loop is equal to MB sin theta or Nibba sin theta. So these are the three things. All these are interrelated. That is very essential for you to know. Now I was speaking about magnetic moment of the current loop. How to find out the direction of the magnetic moment of the current loop. Any current loop, whether it is going to be a circular loop or it is going to be a rectangular loop. For example, if you take a circular loop, can you see me? Can you listen? Very simple, quick, in no minute time you can find out. Same, I told you right hand thumb rule. That's why I'm not using left hand at all. You can use right hand thumb rule again. For 2 elements right hand, 3 elements palm rule. So now current is flowing in the clockwise direction. Let us suppose. If the current flows in the clockwise direction, the magnetic moment is going to be inverse. That's all. Magnetic moment, if you want to find out, same right hand thumb rule you can use. Current in the clockwise, magnetic moment is inverse. If current in the anti-clockwise direction, if the current is anti-clockwise direction, magnetic moment is outwards. Same thing here. Or if I'm keeping this plane of the coil is going to be horizontally placed, or if you place it, the current in the coil is anti-clockwise, upwards, clockwise, downwards. That is what is given here in the diagram. You can very well see here, the current is going to be anti-clockwise direction. The magnetic moment, here it is given H, but then we will take M. So now magnetic moment of a current loop. Magnetic moment of a current loop, that is M vector. M is equal to product of, how do you define magnetic moment? Defined as product of current and area vector of the loop. Product of current and area of the loop enclosed by the current. That is, M is equal to I into A. For n turns of the coil, M is equal to NIA. Children, lower class you have learnt about, N rule. So like that also you can find out what is that N rule. So you have to know, just to note it. What is it? N rule says. N rule says, in a current loop, if the current is going to be in the anti-clockwise direction, anti-clockwise. If you take anti-clockwise direction, you have to take it as north pole. How do we say it is north pole? It is anti-clockwise direction. See, for anti-clockwise direction, take this as north pole. Whereas, if it is going to be clockwise direction, the current is taken as clockwise. If you take clockwise, south pole. Clockwise take it as south pole and anti-clockwise take it as north pole. This is just an N rule, one more rule. Otherwise, you can easily find out by using clockwise it is into anti-clockwise outwards. So this is also one of the rule. So your teacher may be teaching you this. Just I wanted you people to get enlightened about that. But then it's not necessary that you have to use the end rule. You can use right hand thumb rule. So quickly, let me just give you the concept. That is what it is given here. You can see here the direction. Right hand rule can be used to determine the direction of area vector. Curl your fingers in the direction of the current in the loop. Your thumb points the direction of area vector. Same thing, children. So hope you understand. So let me just put it here itself. Okay, children. So now Hertz. Quickly, let me just give you based on that. Find the direction of magnetic moment. Find the direction of magnetic moment. Magnetic moment of what loop? Current loop. Magnetic moment of current loop. Very easy, children. One question I'm going to teach you, remaining you have to do by yourself. So this is the current loop. Look at the current loop, children. Here, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Cartesian coordinates always you draw in the anti-clockwise direction, not in the clockwise. See, if you take, if I put this is x-axis, this is y-axis, z-axis is not allowed. It's not correct because it's going clockwise. No, it's not correct. Always the Cartesian coordinates you have to write in anti-clockwise. X, Y, Z like that. If you want to put here also X, Y, Z, it's fine. It is correct. Do you get it, children? So now x-axis, y-axis, z-axis I put. Now I wanted to find out what is the direction of the magnetic moment. Quickly. Now tell me, magnetic moment is equal to NIA. I have already told you. The direction of M vector is equal to area vector. How do we find out the direction of area vector? The coil is in what axis? The coil is in xy axis. Where is the area? Area is normal. Normal to the coil. Where is normal to the coil? Normal is nothing but z-axis is the normal. But how do we find out positive or negative z-axis? I have already told you, you take clockwise as what? Always take it as negative. It is not only for this question. Every question you take clockwise as negative. So here it is negative. So therefore, normal is area vector. So area vector should be equal to negative z-axis. So therefore, M vector is equal to minus k cap. That's all. Is it not easy? Yes, it is very easy. Now you check. Now find the direction of magnetic moment. Now you will be able to do it. Tell me now. Tell me very clearly. You understand, I guess. So you tell me what is the direction of magnetic moment. This is OABC. The coil. The current in this coil is anti-clockwise direction. I is the current and A is the L is the length of the coil and B is the breadth of the coil. Now what is the direction of M vector? Come on, tell me, children. You know it very well. Direction of M vector. Tell me, what is that? Which axis it is present? The coil is placed in XZ axis, which is the perpendicular to XZ axis, which is the third axis. That is the perpendicular. Which is the third axis? Y axis. But in y-axis, whether it is positive or negative, how do we find out? Already told you, it is anti-clockwise. If it is anti-clockwise, what do you take, children? Anti-clockwise positive, that is all. So therefore, M vector is equal to area vector, which is equal to positive j cap, or you can say positive y-axis. So hope you understand, children. That is all. Very, very easy. Come back next. Moving coil galvanometer. Such a very, very important question and it is coming for the examination. Moving coil galvanometer. Okay. This is otherwise simply called as MCG, children. How do we do it? I have already told you, if you take a coil, current in the coil. If your current is passed through the coil, what will be produced in the coil, children? What will be produced? When you pass current through the coil, what will be produced? Magnetic field. So look at the direction of the magnetic field. Let us suppose current is anti-clockwise, the magnetic field is outwards. Now you tell me, children, does this coil, as because you pass current, see I am taking the coil, this coil I am taking, I am passing current. Will the coil move up and down or left and right? No, right? Does this coil? No, it won't move. Right? If it is moving, then in your house, when you pass current through the coil, the wire should move. Is the wire moving? No, right? It won't move. But I'm going to make the coil to move. How? I am going to place it in the external magnetic field. When I place it in the external magnetic field, what happened? This is north pole, this is south pole. No. So this north pole will try to move towards the south pole because it has to get attracted. South pole attract towards the north pole. Now you tell me, what does the coil do? The coil will tend to rotate because it is trying to move. No, this is a coil, right? Trying to move, so it rotates. So therefore, you can say a torque is produced. When does a torque is produced? When you pass current through the coil, does a torque is produced? No. You have to pass current through the coil as well. You have to place it in what? External magnetic field. That is what you are going to do it. Right? So I will rub this. Now you check on the diagram, whatever is given. You will have a clarity. So now check on the diagram what is given here. Let me bring it here. Yeah. So now you can check. A current is passed through the coil. One minute, children. Yeah, I'm sorry for the interruption, children. So when you pass current through the coil, and then you place it in the external magnetic field. You pass current through the coil and you place it in the external magnetic field, what will happen? Here the coil will turn. So instead of using this rectangular coil, what am I going to use? I'm going to use a soft iron core. Around the soft iron core, I'm going to wind up the coil. And let me wind up the coil around the soft iron core. How is that? So let me take a coil. This is the soft iron core. In this soft iron core, let me wind up the coil. So I am winding up the coil like that. Large number of turns of the coil has been winded up. But I wanted to find out how much is the torque produced, right? So therefore, for that, I am going to use a pointer here like that. A pointer is attached. A pointer in the scale arrangement is attached in order to find out how much it is producing torque. So when you pass current through the coil, what will happen? The torque is produced. So therefore, it will be either moving towards the left or moving towards the right depending upon the direction. But it is very bulky. I want it back to bring it back to the original position. So when you switch off the fan, children, does it come back to the original position very soon? No, right? It takes some time because of the inertia. Same way, it is taking some time, but I wanted to bring it back to the original position. Therefore, I'm going to attach a small coiled spring like that. I'm going to attach a coiled spring like that. When you attach a coiled spring like this, so what happens? It will be able to come back to the original position. But at the same time, I want the maximum torque. In order to have a maximum torque, I am going to use a radial field. What is radial field? Radial field is nothing but the perpendicular magnetic field in which always the torque will be maximum. Always, whatever be the position of the coil, it always produces a maximum torque. So therefore, the shaped magnet, that is nothing but concave shaped magnet, is used. Why do we use concave shaped magnet? In order to provide a radial field. I am using soft iron core here. The black color one is soft iron core. Why do we use the soft iron core? In order to increase the more number of magnetic field lines. So therefore, I am using soft iron core to increase permeability. To increase permeability. That is the reason I'm using soft iron core. And what is the shape of the coiled, what is the use of this coiled spring? I'm using a coiled spring in order to have a restoring torque. In order to have restoring torque. Because deflecting torque is already given by the magnetic field. So therefore, in order to have a restoring torque, I'm using that. So that is all the construction, children. Once again, let me repeat the construction. You take a soft iron core, wind up the coil around it, and then you pass current. But then it won't move. I want it to move. In order to create a torque, you place it in the external magnetic field. When you place it in the external magnetic field, the coil will rotate. So when the coil is rotating, I wanted to see how much is the deflection. Therefore, I'm using a pointer over here, scale arrangement, in order to find out how much is the deflection. But since it is very bulky, it doesn't come back to the original position very soon. In order to make it to come back to the original position, I'm using a coiled spring which is made up of phosphor bronze, because it has got a high tensile strength, and even the smallest deflection it is going to be measuring or detecting. So therefore, it has got a high tensile strength and low value of torsional constant. Such kind of material is phosphor bronze string. Okay, children. So that cross-sectional view is given here. You can have a view over it. And so now, what is the principle on which it works? Principle: current carrying coil placed in magnetic field. So the principle on which it works. Current carrying coil placed in magnetic field. Current carrying coil placed in uniform magnetic field. Placed in uniform magnetic field experiences torque. Principle alone, children, as per cut, copy, paste from the NCERT, you have to write. Either the principle or the definition. Keywords are very important for CBSE board examination. That is how the evaluators are instructed to correct. CBSE wants the keyword for principle as well as for definition. And derivation, it's fine. However you want, you can bring it. But then diagram related to the derivation, it's very, very important. As per the derivation, the diagram also should imply, suppose if you say that AB represent, or theta is angle between velocity of charged particle and magnetic field, then you have to show that. Without showing, if you're going to write it, neither the teacher nor the CBSE will accept. Understand, children? So quickly, see, children, you have to learn very quickly. You cannot, now this is not for a time for you to just research and do it. That will take, instead of taking 10 minutes time, if you're going to take some 2 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours of learning the concept, that's not a wise way of learning. There's not the time for you to, research and do it. There's a time for you to learn quickly. Okay, that is why you are taking my help. As far as possible, learn strategies and tricks and very quickly learn. Okay, got it. Come back. So current carrying coil placed in uniform magnetic field experiences torque. I have already drawn the diagram. So now what is the use of radial working theory? Working theory. What is it working theory? Under equilibrium. Deflecting torque is equal to restoring torque. I have already told you which is providing restoring torque, children. The spring, coiled spring. Deflecting torque is equal to, this is equation number 1. Deflecting torque provided by the radial magnetic field is equal to tau is equal to ni bar sine theta. But since radial field is used, radial field means what field? Radial field is a perpendicular magnetic field is used. Therefore, theta is 90 degree. Therefore, tau is equal to ni bar. Next, we know that restoring torque is provided by the phosphor bronze spring is directly proportional to angle of deflection. Taking out the proportionality by a constant, tau is equal to k phi. So therefore, equating therefore 2 and 3 and 1. When you take, I can write it as ni bar is equal to k into 5, or I can write it as 5 is equal to ban by k into I, or you can simply write it as ban by k into I, or I can write it as 5 is equal to g into I. That means 5 is directly proportional to I. That is what I wanted to convey. That means deflection is directly, more the current, more the deflection. So directly proportional. See, when current increases, deflection also increases. So 5 is directly proportional to I. That is all I wanted to convey. That is all. This is all. But you have to know like what is that radial field means. Radial field. There are certain terms you have to know. Radial field. That is nothing but perpendicular, uniform magnetic field. Uniform magnetic field. In which torque is maximum and scale is linear. Torque is maximum and scale is linear. Okay, how do you provide radial field? Use concave shaped magnet, concave or cylindrical shaped magnet, or horseshoe shaped magnet. Shaped magnet. When you use this magnet, it provides radial field. Radial field. I have already pointed out that what is use of phosphor bronze strip? Phosphor bronze. Why do we use the suspension coil spring made up of phosphor bronze? Number one, high tensile strength. High tensile strength and low torsional constant. Low torsional constant. That means low value of K. Even the smallest deflection it could detect. And finally, what is the use of soft iron core? Soft iron core increases, these are all inside children. Whenever you write this construction working MCGs, all these are point by point. If you write, definitely full mark you will get. Soft iron core increases permeability. Increases magnetic permeability. So hope you understand this moving coil galvanometer, children. There is another term called as current sensitivity connected with it. That is separate question, but current sensitivity and voltage sensitivity. Current sensitivity alpha is called as current deflection in unit current flows through the coil. Deflection in galvanometer. Deflection in galvanometer when unit current flows through it. Unit current flowing through it. So all alpha is equal to deflection in galvanometer when unit current, phi by I. Children, we have already learned that what is phi. We have learned to know what is phi. We have learned phi by I is equal to ban by K here. Can you check here? Same thing I'm going to write here. That's all. So phi by I is equal to ban by K. Styla, you can keep it in mind so that it's just a kind of mnemonic where you will be able to recollect whenever it is asked. Okay, children? So now phi by I is equal to ban by K, equation number 1. Next, voltage sensitivity. Voltage sensitivity. Voltage sensitivity is nothing but Deflection in galvanometer. Deflection in galvanometer when unit voltage is maintained across it, unit potential difference is maintained across it. So therefore I can write alpha V is equal to phi by V. According to Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. But phi by A is already known by you. Phi by A is already known by you. So therefore you can simply write that is ban by K into R. Ban by K into R. Now you notice, children, here it depends not only on N, it also depends upon R over here. So therefore you can conclude that increasing current sensitivity, such a $1 million important question. 22-23 this question was asked. Increasing current sensitivity may not necessarily increase voltage sensitivity, may not necessarily increase voltage sensitivity. NCERT textbook it is there. How? Explain. You have to explain the stuff. How are we going to explain the stuff? Now, let us suppose N is doubled by keeping other parameters constant, other factors constant. So therefore, alpha becomes, if N is doubled, alpha current sensitivity becomes ban by K. N only doubles, no, ban by K. So therefore, alpha is directly proportional to what? N, right? If N is doubled, what will happen, children? N doubles, therefore alpha also doubles. But alpha V is equal to ban divided by what? Alpha V is equal to ban by KR. If N become 2N, number of turns is increased. What will happen to length? If you increase the number of turns of the wire, not length is constant, you increase more number of length. Length increases. When length increases, what happened to resistance? Resistance also doubles. So therefore, voltage sensitivity remains constant. That is what, children, it is asked. So it doesn't change. Voltage sensitivity doesn't change, remain constant. Such a $1 million important question. So hope you understand this concept, children. Right? So the last, convert galvanometer to ammeter, galvanometer to voltmeter. So how to convert galvanometer to ammeter, galvanometer to voltmeter? This alone we will see. Galvanometer to ammeter can be converted by G to A means ammeter. Okay, so I have to connect a very low resistance called as shunt resistance in parallel. So very low resistance called as shunt resistance in parallel. That is how you can connect it. Okay, so now let us suppose here, how do we convert galvanometer to ammeter? By connecting a very low resistance called shunt in parallel. In parallel, what is same? Voltage is same. So therefore, I can write V across G is equal to V across, yes, according to Ohm's law, V is equal to, this is Ig. The remaining current is I minus Ig. So Ig into G is equal to I minus Ig into S. So therefore, S is equal to Ig into G divided by I minus Ig, children. That is all, children. That is shunt resistance formula. If you want to find out the effective resistance, you can say that R effective is equal to Gs divided by G plus S. Because in parallel, you know that 1 by G plus 1 by S. Take LCM, you will get the same thing. So G to A is over. So now G to V. Galvanometer to voltmeter. G to V is voltmeter. So by connecting G to V, galvanometer is converted into voltmeter. is converted into voltmeter. By connecting a very high resistance. This is a keyword, children. There it is very low. Very high resistance in series. See, I am connecting very high resistance in series with the galvanometer. In series, what is same, children? Current is same. So I am taking the current as Ig. But voltage is different. So let me call it as voltage V1 plus V2. So total voltage will be equal to V1 plus V2. So therefore, I can write it as Ig into R plus Ig into G. That is all, children. So therefore, I can write here as Ig into R is equal to, see, I am writing now V minus Ig into G is equal to Ig into R. So therefore, divided by Ig together, throughout you divide by Ig. So therefore, you get V by Ig minus G is equal to R. R, I can write it as R plus G is equal to V by Ig. It's such a famous equation. Based on that, you will have a number of problems. So hope you understand how to convert galvanometer to ammeter. The last one, force between two long parallel conductors carrying current. I have taken only one conductor, children. You tell me right and left hand side, what's the direction of magnetic field? How do we find out? Very simple. Quickly use the right hand thumb rule. And tell me here, if you're going to quickly use the right hand thumb rule, tell me what is the direction of the magnetic field? Direction of the magnetic field is towards the right and left hand side of the wire. Towards the left hand side of the wire, it is outwards. Towards the right hand side of the wire, into. Same thing here. Into, here it outwards. Same way, another wire you take. Another wire I am taking, the second wire. Again use the right hand thumb rule. When you use the right hand thumb rule, you tell me here right hand side and left hand side, how is that magnetic field? Use right hand thumb rule. Here it is outwards, here it is inwards. But then apparently I am using here current is I1, here current is I2. Different current I am using. But children, which is the own magnetic field? B1 is own magnetic field, B2 is the external magnetic field. Between the two wires, both are separated by distance A. Between the two wires. See, when a current carrying conductor is placed in external magnetic field, it experience force. I am taking first wire. Now the first wire, which is the external magnetic field, B2 is the external magnetic field. So therefore, let me take only the first wire. I am taking, this is a continuation. Children, listen carefully. This is continuation. Current I1. I am not talking about own magnetic field. External magnetic field. Which is the external magnetic field. External magnetic field is B2, which is acting outwards. How do you know? Now only we found out. This is only B2, no? Outwards, no? Is it outwards or not? Yes. So same thing I have taken. Right? Current, magnetic field, force I have to find out. Use the right palm rule and find out. Current, magnetic field, force. Where is the current flowing? Current is flowing upwards. Where is the magnetic field? Outwards, outside. Where is the force? Towards right. So towards right is the force. So force on the first wire due to magnetic field of the second wire. Do you understand? Now check. I'm going to take the second wire. Forget about the first wire. I'm going to forget about the first wire. Okay? So let me forget about the first wire. In order to forget about the first wire, I'm going to take this and then mask it. Chumma, I'm masking it. Afterwards, I'll remove the same thing. Okay? I forget. Now I'm going to take the second wire, children. I'll take the second wire. Wire 2, current is I2, which is the external magnetic field. B1 is the external magnetic field. How is the B1 acting? Tell me B1, how is it acting? Into the plane. So therefore B1 is acting into the plane. Let me write this is into the plane. Now find out the force. Magnetic field is inwards. Current is y-axis. Where is the force? Towards my left. Same thing here, towards my left. Force on the second wire due to the first wire. Hope you understand, children. Now I will remove this. That is all. Simple. Both the forces are acting towards each other. So therefore, what is the nature of the force? Very simple, children. Nature of force is equal to attractive. What if it is going to be in the opposite direction? If it is going to be in the opposite direction, then the nature of the force, this is B1, here B2, B1 and B2 both are in the same direction. This is I1, this is I2, this is first conductor, second conductor. Of course, the force will be repulsive. Nature of the force, same direction of the current. If you take same direction of current, then attractive. Opposite direction of current, opposite direction of current, then you can say repulsive. Okay, children, I found out attractive and repulsive. How to find out the magnitude? So force on first conductor, force on conductor 1, one line answer, due to magnetic field. B2 of second conductor, conductor 2, is force on first conductor, that is nothing but BIL sine theta. B2 into I1 into L into sine 90. But we know that already we learned, due to infinitely long wire, that formula you have to apply, mu naught I2 divided by 2 pi, distributed the two wires A. Substitute 2 in 1. So F12 is equal to mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi A into L. Therefore, force per unit length is equal to mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi A. Understand, children? So similarly for force on second wire due to the first wire, the same thing you will get mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi A into length. Therefore, force per unit length will be same as that of the previous one. If you want to define 1 ampere of current, you can define. How do you define 1 ampere of current? You learn from the NCERT textbook, but then I'm going to give you just I1 is equal to I2 is equal to I is equal to 1 amp. If A is equal to 1 meter, therefore force per unit length will be equal to. Okay, substitute the value of mu naught by 2 because everything is 1. Mu naught into 1 divided by 2 pi into 1. So therefore force per unit length will be equal to 4 pi by 2 pi, no, 2 into 10 power minus 7 Newton per meter. So you can define 1 amp of current force experienced by two long parallel conductors, two long thin parallel conductors placed in air, separated by distance. How much meter? 1 meter. Exert a force on each other 2 into 10 power minus 7 Newton per meter. Hope you understand, children. Mining we'll see in the next class. So everything we have discussed and the rules also we have discussed. So you watch this video completely, but if you feel that like you are tired, pause the video and then whatever you watch, recap. Maybe the next day you can watch the same thing, but you have to meticulously watch the video and take notes and enhance your conceptual knowledge. Learn the keywords, learn all the rules. Thank you, children.